The art of setting a skin track is just that, an art. And when I set a skin track, I'm thinking about a few things right off the bat. First would be safety, efficiency, and comfort. Those are my directives when I decide how I want to set a track. And in doing that, I try to flow through the terrain, look at the terrain and approach it in the most logical way where I can have a reasonable angle. I can go steep enough that I'm getting up the slope, but not so steep that I'm going to make it very difficult for myself and others. I consider it just an art form where I look at it and I can be proud of what I've done. When I consider the safety aspects of my skin track, I'm also looking around at the terrain that I might be exposed to in setting my track. It may seem efficient to set a track in a particular area, but if I'm in a terrain trap or I'm exposed to overhead hazard from other avalanches or other things of that order, then I may choose to set a skin track in a different location. Safety, of course, can take a variety of forms depending on the terrain I'm in. I want to be sure in setting the track that I am not exposing myself or the people I'm with to any hazards in addition to the normal movement through the terrain. When I do an efficient track, I'm looking at the terrain, and as I said, I'm trying to flow through the terrain. I really try to anticipate and have my movement such that when I skin up, I'm utilizing my lower body and not engaging my upper body. When I do this, I also want to think of the angle in which I'm approaching my skin track. If I go too steep, then I start engaging my upper body and being very inefficient in my movement. Going too low of an angle, and then you just simply don't get where you want to be in a very timely fashion. So I'm looking for that sweet spot angle where we can go all day and feel good and flow through the terrain. Now, some other elements of that might be my turn selection. I try to flow through the terrain and utilize turns such as rounded turns or AVA turns because they're easy to move back and forth on switchbacks. There may be occasions where we do switchbacks and utilize kick turns, and I don't want to send a message to not ever do kick turns because we do need to be able to do them, but I think when we don't have to use them through the terrain, we're going to be more efficient. Now, learning how to do good kick turns is also a form of efficiency, but is something that I try to use less if possible. Now, there's some other factors that I get into as well, some environmental factors. I might see that the most efficient track would be to stay up on this ridge, but it's windy and cold and it would be very uncomfortable, so I will often set a track below the ridge that may not be quite as efficient, but is a lot more comfortable in the process of getting to our objective. There is a lot to think about in setting a skin track, but if you can really think ahead and gain some experience, then it's a super fun art form that you'll really feel psyched about mastering.